What is up, peeps? How is everybody doing this fabulous Monday morning? Getting myself live on Instagram, so just give me a minute. It's always a lag. I see myself. All right, we are live. We are ready to rock and roll. How is everybody doing today? Happy Monday. If you notice that I'm in a different room, that's because I am in my office room that I have been procrastinating on turning into a podcast studio, so it still looks bare and bland. So I do want to start working on this stuff at some point in my life, and I think that this is going to be a good week to do it. I have so many things that I want to share with y'all, but I'm going to put that on the back burner and get into today's episode and talk to you guys about some things on my mind as we are rolling into, we are mid-February. So we are about, what are we, 6, 7-ish weeks into Q1. And I'm going to say Q1 because a lot of you guys, when we think about goals and goal setting, we focus on the new year and the end of the year. And you don't think about the benchmarks along the way. So when I think of goals, I think in terms of quarters, like what am I looking to achieve in this first quarter? So if you started something in the beginning of the new year, how are you doing on that goal? This is a great time to reevaluate how things are going and maybe set a smaller goal. If you did set a big goal for the whole year, this is not today's episode topic, but might actually be something that today might help you with getting a better plan. But it's a great time to reevaluate what's working and what's not, and seeing if you can finish off Q1 with some success. I am going to pop over to the captions. Good morning. Street parking vault axle fully done. Damien, love seeing you on here. So funny. I committed to, this is not today's topic either, doing 30 days of CrossFit main site workouts. What the fuck was I thinking? Oh my God, because the anxiety. So, but my coach and I did discuss this, and we decided to go back a week. And so I did Friday and Saturday, but we're just going to use last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This way I can plan it into my program and not feel the stress of like how it's going to overlap or anything like that. So that makes me feel a little bit better because I wanted to do it. But I got goals and I want to make sure I'm doing all of the things. So again, I know I'm doing a little bit of banter talk. I hope you guys are all doing great. I don't know, somebody from a different country, Marcel, I have no idea what you just said because you're speaking a different language. So if you can understand English, I would love to know where you are from. Introduce yourself. Good morning, Jody. I see Jody on. Crystal, Lisa. I see some other people. Seth on here. Nene. Oh, Nene. That sounds pretty funny. I like that. Olivia. I see some names on here. On Facebook, I can't see your name, unfortunately. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I can't see your name. Let's get into today's topic. Damien, man, let me just tell you, I needed that today. Sometimes you need assurance because when you've been doing this as long as I have, every day still becomes a measuring stick. And you're always like, I'm just a failure because you know how good you felt when you felt great. And I know that you guys, Pat, Craig's on here too. Craig, long time no see, man. I feel like I got my buds on today. I feel good about this. Oh man. Funny because a lot of my recent posts have been targeted towards women, but I do want you guys to know I do work with men too, mostly in the CrossFit space. I'm not really the Globo Gym men just don't do it for me. Yeah. So I like to work with my CrossFit guys. You guys have a different push. So anyways, let's get into today's topic. We are going to be talking about the real reason you are struggling to stay consistent with your fat loss plan. And I honestly wanted to put nutrition, but I think for a lot of people, when we think of nutrition, most of us are thinking of, and Damien, if we're alive, we're winning, right? Most of us are thinking in terms of goals. And a lot of people, when they're dialing in their nutrition, it is because they're trying to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to get leaner. I'm trying to dial things in. Yes, there are the people that sometimes like, I need to build some muscle, or I have been under eating and I feel like dog crap. But for the most of the people, I know that my body doesn't look a certain way. I want to shed some fat. I want to feel better, build some muscle. And I want to talk about what's really making it hard for you to stay consistent today. I think that I started off, and let me just pull up my notes. By the way, let me tell you guys something else. I never rewatch my episodes, and I was watching one of my episodes yesterday just to kind of see what it looks like because I hate watching myself on camera. It is so hard to figure out where to look. So right now I'm looking directly at my camera, but I also have notes in front of me. And sometimes I'm looking at the people and what they're posting. So it's like, if you see my eyes moving around everywhere if you're watching this, I swear I'm not crazy, but I feel like, man, what is she looking at? I'm looking at multiple things on my screen. So right now I'm looking directly at the camera, and I'm going to look down at my notes, and I could also pop over to the Instagram chat and look at the Instagram chat. So little tangent, but what I want to really start by talking about is if you feel like you have kind of been in that place of you are always starting something or like fizzling out and then like, oh, gotta wake up again and you're starting back over again. This is where I think we all judge ourselves, myself included at one point, in it's a lack of discipline. It's I'm just not committed. I just have XYZ things that are making it difficult. And you actually wonder, like, why is this so hard for me? And then you get to a place like, all right, today's the day. Everything is going to be so much better. And we think it's going to be like, boom, like a flip of the switch and you're good to go. Right. And a lot of times that does happen to people, and they can maybe be consistent for 3, 6, 12 weeks. In fact, maybe you have lost weight in the past and it worked, but now it's like, why is it just so hard to do that again? Okay. It is not discipline you're lacking. It is not willpower you are lacking. And I want to start by validating that for you, because I think that that is what most people think. Now, yes, there are some people that just need to get their shit together. They need to realize that the goals they have and the life they're living are just not in line. But the majority of the people I work with, they are working really hard. In fact, even some of those people are working really hard. You are pushing yourself in so many areas in life. Okay. So think about this. If you are showing up to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, no matter how you feel, that requires discipline. If you are showing up to your job 5 or 6 days a week, no matter how you feel or what your boss tells you or what you want to do, that is discipline. If you are taking care of your family, waking up and taking care of the kids and doing the laundry and doing the dishes and checking the mail and scooping the poop and in the lawn, like, think about all of the fucking shit you pick up in life, right? You do all of those things, all of them, right? That requires discipline. They do. They require discipline. Some require more discipline than others, right? So you have to realize, like, you're very disciplined. Why are you lacking it in your nutrition? What is making it hard for you? Okay. There are 3 things that are lacking in your plan that are making it hard for you to have the discipline that you have in all the areas of your life in your nutrition plan for fat loss, or even for dialing it in for whatever. But it's mostly for fat loss, because most people, this is what they struggle with. They're either on a fat loss plan or they're not. Okay. Number 1, you're lacking clarity. Number 2, you're lacking predictability. And number 3, you are lacking strategy. And I'm going to break down all 3 of these things today, okay? Because all 3 of these things are going to move the needle for you faster than jumping on another let's reset on Monday plan, okay? So if this hits home for you, I want you to really take action today, whether it's doing it on your own or saying, Cheryl, you're speaking to me. Help me get started. I'm ready to work with you. Okay. Or a member of my team member. I got 2 coaches that work for me too. We will make sure we pitch you with a person that is meant for you, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So I am a little bit more of a bold coach, just letting you know. I have a coach who's a little bit of a softie. If you like the softer side of things, she'll be great for you. So anyways, let's talk about this. All right, let's talk about the clarity. Well, we're going to talk about why trying harder is what you keep trying to do and why that's actually not working. Okay. So you are basically doubling down on everything. You know, you're just defaulting to, I need to keep working harder. So you keep trying to find a more structured plan. You keep trying to reset, and you keep getting stuck with where you're at because you don't have clear direction. You don't know where this plan is going to take you. You don't, and what happens is you don't know how to pivot the plan. Okay. You need to know where exactly you're going. And it's why when you're setting yourself up for your starting plan, you need to make sure that the plan you're on feels sustainable, enjoyable, and works with your life. Okay. So, first and foremost, we need to have clarity. All right. Where are we actually going? This is where it is very important to have clear cut goals. Okay. So, I have a lot of conversations with people that are interested in my coaching program. And when I start talking to them, whether it's via direct message in Instagram or Facebook or in a text message, I ask a lot of questions. And one of them is like, okay, what are your specific goals? And I'm not saying that you have to know, I want to weigh 132 pounds by, May 27th at 12 o'clock a.m. or whatever. I would like to lose 10 to 15 pounds. It would be nice to be able to see this happen in 3 to 5 months. Okay, but we have a general timeline for a commitment. Okay, that gives you an idea of what you're going to be doing for the next quarter of your life, right? This is where I'm at right now in this season of my life. We need to have clarity. When you're building your plan, you want to make sure that the plan you're following feels realistic for that timeline. That is the main reason for the timeline. It's not about, making sure that you're actually hitting that benchmark. It's giving yourself the opportunity to feel bought into the fact that I am going to be doing these action steps specifically for fat loss for this period of time. It's like in CrossFit, right? If the workout says 400-meter run, 15 overhead squats, but the coach doesn't tell you how many rounds you're doing, how bought in are you going to be in the beginning of that workout? Like, are we doing 1 round or are we doing 10 rounds? That's going to change your strategy a little bit, right? And this is also where knowing how much weight you have to lose might matter, right? Like, we might need to take breaks. All right. Like, it's committing to something. So we need to have clarity on where you're actually going. And that also means we have to assess what's not working right now. Like, where are I call it the leaks in your bucket. We need to know what exactly is missing from your current strategy in life that is causing the weight gain so we can reverse it. Okay. So we need to have that clarity first and foremost. The second thing we need is predictability. Okay. A couple of things we need with predictability. We need to be able to predict how we're going to feel, right? We need to be able to kind of have an idea of what effort in this phase of your life should feel like and what is manageable and what we have to kind of be comfortable being uncomfortable with and what we are willing to be uncomfortable with, along with what results we can expect with that, right? So the thing that comes to my mind, I'm going to keep going back to fitness, is like, okay, we're going to run a mile. If you've ran a mile before, and I'm like, we're doing a mile time trial, you have an idea of what you should feel. You know about where it's going to start to hurt. You know about where it's going to start to, you know about when it's going to start to hurt. You know how you're going to feel at the beginning. You maybe have a little bit of idea of what a predictable gauge of where you should be for that mile might be. Okay, so you have an idea based on where you're currently at. All right. You want to kind of have the same thing here with your fat loss plan. You got to have some predictability. And that means knowing what realistic expectations are based on where you are currently at. I am not just talking about your weight, your height, and your age. I am also talking about what life allows for you to be committed to, right? So it's not saying that if you have a fat loss goal, but you also have some social stuff going on, that you can't commit to fat loss. It's just predictably, we know that results might be a little bit slower around a couple of weeks in that cycle because you have a couple of other things going on, right? That's predictability, all right? So those are the things that you want to know. Predictability also is a lot easier when you are tracking. Tracking data is a core component of a well-built fat loss strategy. I don't care what anybody says. I am not saying that you have to track your food and your training and every step and every metric for the rest of your life. But if you want to have a strategy built that is going to work for you to get to where you want to be and be able to put all that shit aside for good, like, you need to be tracking data. I don't care what people say. You need to be tracking data. That is the best thing you can do. And you can always go back to it if things change. Data tracking isn't just for fat loss. It's also for understanding how your body reacts to different things, like how your body responds when you add more food in, or when you've taken a week off, or when you're training too hard. Like, it's all helpful. But predictability also means you should be tracking things, okay? The final thing lacking from your fat loss plan is strategy. What is your strategy? Okay. What are we doing? Tracking macros is not a fat loss strategy. I'm sorry, it's not. Eating clean is not a fat loss strategy. Hitting your protein is not a fat loss strategy. Like, intermittent fasting is not a fat loss strategy. What is a fat loss strategy? What is going to make creating a calorie deficit be the easiest thing for you to apply in your life? That is a fat loss strategy. That means knowing what things you value. So for a lot of my clients, it's, I don't want to feel like shit in the gym. I want to be able to move heavy barbells. I want to be able to handle my volume. Or it's, I don't want to give up like enjoying my social life. I've got kids. We have pizza night. I've got a family. I've got other things going on that require my energy. And I want to give my energy into those things and be present. Okay. So we need a strategy that allows you to work for the goals you have for yourself along with the other goals. Because if your only goal in life is to be on a fat loss plan, guess what? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody is writing any articles about that shit. Well, I take that back. I actually, I could write I should write a whole podcast episode about how transformations on weight are the most fucked up thing that society has ever glamorized. Just saying. And that comes down to whether you've lost 5, 10 pounds, 20 to 50 pounds, because guess what? If that person has only ever been successful at that one thing, guess what now becomes a measure of their self-worth? The scale. And maybe that hit home for you because you only feel good about yourself when you're in a calorie deficit, restricting yourself on a fat loss plan, in control. Okay. So I could talk a whole nother episode on that, and maybe I will. I'm going to write that down. Transformation. Thank God I have Post-its in here. Okay. But you need a strategy. Okay. Going back on track. What's actually going to move the needle for you? We got to find those holes in your bucket and fill them. And not everybody's strategy is the same. We have to actually know what works best for you. Yes, we have to control calories. Yes, we have to make sure you're getting enough protein. Yes, we have to figure out how to build balance in your meals, getting enough carbs for your training without going over on your calories. We have to do all of those things. Meal timing, all that stuff matters. But what matters most is the strategy that works for you. Everybody's different. Some people train in the morning. Some people train in the evening. Some people train twice a day. Some people train 3 times a week. Some people train 6 times a week. Some people are like, what is training? I just exercise. Some people, whatever, like some people work 9 to 5. Some people work overnights. Like, there's a different strategy for every person. Without these 3 things, clarity, predictability, and strategy, you are always going to be your decisions are always going to be driven by emotions. You're going from feelings over facts. You step on the scale after you went out for date night and you're like, oh my God, I have got to get this 2 pounds off, which, by the way, you didn't gain 2 pounds overnight. You're holding on to a little bit of water weight, which is a little tangent. Okay. You are going to constantly be looking at feelings over facts. Why data is also important. Okay. You're going to constantly be judging what you're doing against what other people are doing, or comparing yourself to others, or getting sidetracked because you just started your plan and you're not even giving it a chance to work because you see somebody else following a plan and you're like, oh, maybe that's going to work for me. Okay. Goes into chasing new plans. Maybe you're having a hard time dialing things in, and you are, oh my God, I just made a post about this in my Facebook group. You are disguising planning and prepping as productivity when it's just procrastination. You're looking for the right plan. You're looking to figure out the perfect scenario. It does not exist because it hasn't been created yet. You need to build it. And that plan is going to be a lot messier than you realize. And the other thing that happens is like you just end up working so hard with no progress. In fact, when I even talk about this whole, you need more discipline, you need more willpower, and all this stuff and this consistency thing, you're probably already thinking about how fucking burned out you are. Like how burned out you are because you feel like you are always working hard. You are always dialing it in. You are always trying so hard to make it work. And you keep digging yourself harder into that hole. Like, I just got to keep digging more. I'm going to get there. But guess what? You're doing all this hard work and you're frustrated because you still look exactly the same. And now, on top of not seeing bodily changes, the mental baggage you're carrying is making everything else worse. Okay. So here's the biggest mindset shift that I would love for you guys to have right now. Okay. I want you to think about your goals a little bit differently. All right. And this is going to help you with the clarity, the predictability, and the strategy. When we are thinking of fat loss is not the goal. If you are chasing fat loss, again, going back to the transformation topic, you are going to be very unfulfilled in life because fat loss has to come to an end. It is not a permanent thing. If your entire life was spent losing fat, at some point you would be anorexic. You would have an eating disorder. Well, I'm going to be honest, a lot of people that diet have disordered eating patterns. But you would not survive. You would eventually die of starvation, right? But you're on this, you've built this lifestyle right now where it's a constant game of fat loss and whatever you want, and fat loss and whatever you want, and fat loss and whatever you want. And social media has glamorized this. And it has got me so, I'm going to be honest, I have had so many cringe thoughts about this topic and what is pushed out there, even to the fact that I hate seeing other nutrition coaches posting about like, oh, time to lock in again. And here's my 6-week transformation in my cut. Like, why are we constantly having to cut? We are not bodybuilders. Like, unless you're in the sport of bodybuilding, yeah, maybe okay. If you like maybe put on like 2 or 3 pounds here and there, maybe you're like dialing it back in. But why are we letting ourselves go to the point that we have to go through a whole nother cutting phase? It just doesn't make sense, right? It does not make sense. So fat loss is not a lifestyle. Fat loss is a season in your life. And it may take up multiple seasons in your life if you have a considerable amount of weight to lose. Okay, so I've had clients that work with me that have over 100 pounds to lose. That is not going to be one 12-week stint, right? That is going to be a few years of intentional changes. But there's also ways we can build in breaks where it's not always chasing fat loss the whole time, that it's okay to take breaks in seasons where maintenance is the plan, because that's how sustainability is built. Okay. Fat loss should be a short, intentional phase. And the goal, okay, this is what I really want you guys to set in on, is not fat loss. It's developing the lifestyle that your body is a side effect of, and you're happy with that. That is living lean. You need to figure out what living lean looks like for you in your life. Your body composition is not going to dictate that. What you are willing to commit to in your life, what you are willing to prioritize in your life, is what's going to make that happen for you. And every person is very different. Not everybody wants to have a six-pack abs and, wants to take freaking mirror selfies. Like, that's not what they want to do. Then don't do it. You don't have to. You need to be happy with yourself. And for a lot of people, those goals are not sustainable because you do have other things you value in life. You don't want to live your life never being able to go out to eat, like, which I'll be honest, you should still be able to have abs and go out to eat. But there's just a different level of things. I'll say this. When we talk about numbers, if you're chasing below 18% body fat as a female, under 10% body fat as a male, you are going to have to live the fitness lifestyle. You're in the gym 6 days a week. You're pushing weights. You're committed to making sure that you're always on top of getting enough food. This isn't about restriction. It's about you got to be on top of your food. You can't be leaving that shit to chance. Some people don't want to put that much emphasis on nutrition. And you can totally be lean and not have to always think about food. You have to know what living lean looks like to you. What does your lifestyle at this season of your life, like, what does that look like to you? And it can shift, it can change. In fact, I think that a lot of my clients have dealt with this because maybe they were at one point in their life more in that, like, I was super fit. I was like, just so dialed in. I was training hard and then I had a baby, or then this happened and then this happened. And it's like, I just can't get my body back. Well, you probably aren't going to get that body back. You're going to have a different body, one that fits where you're at today. And guess what? She's going to look fucking badass. She is going to look so good, but it's going to be different than that one because that person has evolved and changed. And now you have different responsibilities. And that's also where, like, women specifically, I don't know why it's just not working anymore. Why can't I do it again? Because your life is different. You have to realize that. And if you're constantly staying in this, like, diet mode all the time because you're always chasing fat loss, it just leads to burnout and weight regain. And it's this constant cycle. Okay. So if this really hits home for you, I want you to recognize that you're not alone and you are trapped in a cycle. Like, this is a cycle that a lot of women are trapped in. Men, I'll be honest, if you are a male trapped in this cycle, I would love for you to reach out to me because I don't get a lot of men that open up to me as much about this kinds of stuff as females do, because men are tough, right? So I want you guys to reach out to me because I am interested, but you're just trapped in a cycle. You're trapped in a belief system that has kept you safe for a long period of time. Okay. So if you want to really build consistency that is going to drive permanent changes, get you off of this on and off of track thing and really feeling good, okay, you have got to take ownership of your plan right now. And your plan is not built off of chaos, off of feelings, off of random shit. Okay, you need to take ownership of having an actual plan, not this temporary thing, not this, I'm going to follow this macro set. Like, I'm going to take this seriously. Like, I really want to learn. I am looking to learn. And that's what I want to teach. Okay, so here are some things that we need that are actually going to move the needle for you to build some consistency. We need to have that rough timeline that creates a commitment. And it's why when people come to me about asking about, well, can we just work together for a month? Like, no, there's very few people that I will even work with for just 3 months. I need usually at least 6 months with somebody because even for 3 months isn't really enough. That's number one. You need to have a timeline. So you need to be committed to something and know that it's going to be messy. It's not going to look like the perfect plan. The perfect plan shit does not work. So that's number one. We need to stop being so restrictive. Okay. Cutting out sugar, cutting out this, cutting out that, low calorie plans and, making sure that you're fasting and all of this stuff that just it literally just distracts you from what works. And you need to be strategic instead. Am I saying that there aren't some things that we're going to have to play around with to make sure that you have a strategy that works for you? That might include maybe, okay, if you are working out in the evening and you do more activity in the evening, yeah, we might be delaying breakfast a little bit in a fat loss phase because it might be easier for you for energy and recovery. There are things that we do, but it's not about restriction. It's about strategy. Okay. The other thing that I think is so impactful for you guys to hear is, oh my gosh, if you realized that fat loss was as simple as removing a protein bar from your diet, that's how simple it could be. all you had to do was remove one protein bar from your diet, how much more successful would you be? Like, and don't even call it a protein bar. Let's just say all you had to do was remove 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, or you had to swap out 3 eggs. Like, think about how much easier fat loss would be for you if all you had to do was make one small swap a day. That's what it should look like. It does not need to be this huge change. And that comes down to knowing, what is my maintenance calories? Where are they? Not just some Joe Schmo random tells me this is a deficit. Where is my actual maintenance calories today? That's going to move the needle for you. And the next thing that we need is we need to build a plan that removes daily decision fatigue. If every single day you are having to recreate the wheel, that is why you're constantly stressed about food. If every single day you're meal planning, you are fucking burning out. You are burning out every single day. Like, we got to get you a system, and it needs to be repeatable. Okay. So let's talk about the final thing that I want you guys to really hear today. And that is that if you're listening to this and any of this stuff is hitting home for you, I want you to truly have an identity shift today. I want you to truly feel like you no longer have to be the person that's on a diet, constantly chasing fat loss, constantly feeling out of control of her body, showing up at the gym, but not getting the results she wants. This is not just about fat loss, okay? It is about leading your body instead of fighting it. It is truly taking ownership of your body, feeding it appropriately, rather than constantly fighting it. Your body, this is your forever body. You don't get another one. That's it. What you got right now is what you got right now. And we can make improvements to it, but unfortunately we cannot buy a new one. You can't. You can't buy a new one. So you might be able to trade in your car, right? You might be able to move houses, but you only get one body that God gave you. And right now, however old you are living off of all of the inputs you have given it over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. Okay. When you finally understand that, I want you to think about how, if you could only live in one house for the rest of your life, what would you be doing on a regular basis? You would probably be doing a lot of upkeep. And then sometimes you'd probably be doing some replacements and things like that. You're not going to tear it down and start all over. Okay. So sometimes when your house gets overwhelmed and it's messy, it can feel like everything is out of order, right? And maybe that's how you feel right now with your body. It just feels like everything is out of order. You have no meal prep strategy. You have the macro shit. You have all this stuff you have to do, the protein, the fiber, the water, the walking, everything, right? Think of it like your house. It's full of shit. And you got to do all these repairs. Start with cleaning one window, right? Clean the window that's to the right of you just so you can see outside, right? Vacuum the floor. Put the dishes in the sink into the dishwasher. Making small steps. I'm using the house analogy because it was easy, okay? When you understand that, like, everything changes for you. And it doesn't mean that it's going to feel easy. It doesn't mean that I'm going to tell you this and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like, I feel great. And like, like, guess what? It's going to feel hard. It's going to feel harder actually, because you're like, wow, like, if you're like me, you don't like having unfinished projects, and your body is a constant project. Like, it's never finished. It's like always being improved, right? So you don't need to practice more discipline. You're not lacking willpower. Your key to consistency and sticking to the plan is clarity, predictability, and strategy. And if you feel like you keep starting over, this is exactly why I want to help you start the right way. Not a plug for coaching, but I will always put a plug for you to have a conversation. I would love to talk to you and hopefully be able to give you some clarity on things and maybe show you what might be going wrong for you and how we can correct it. So that is all I got today, guys. Anything, let me just kind of pop over to here and see if anybody else is watching. Hopefully everybody got some value out of this. I see some people on there that popped on. Deanna, Cami, Sam, Rock. Oh, Rock is on here. Rock, I hope you got to listen to all of this. Did I miss anybody? Anybody still watching that has any takeaways from today's episode, questions, comments, anything else before I pop off of the chat today? Oh, you only got to watch the last part. Rock, you need to watch today's episode, so make sure that you watch it. You'll really get a lot out of this episode. All right. Well, I am going to pop off. If you guys need me, you know where to find me. You can always send me a DM. I am always an open ear to listen to. And I am here. Cami says that's confusing. I was very curious what was confusing. I missed that because I wasn't looking at this. But Cami, feel free to tell me what you were confused by, because I would love to troubleshoot that for you before I hop off. And if I do hop off first, she might not still be on. All right, kids. Well, happy Monday. If anybody needs me, you know where to find me. I am, what am I going to do with this podcast room? I don't even know. Maybe I'll just start with painting the wall. That's probably a good start. You guys, my accountability is that, Cheryl, next week, let's have this back wall painted. All right, guys, have a good Monday. Bye.